Hello everyone and welcome back to Driver Career. This is the British Grand Prix in season 2022, the Lenovo British Grand Prix apparently. But anyway, as always, we kick things off with the Pirelli Hot Lap Challenge, and once again we're in the Aston Martin Vantage F1 edition, but this time we are doing a time trial, or not even time trial, an average speed challenge. So all we have to do is navigate cops, maggots and beckets, and yeah, if we can get through these sections with a high enough average speed, we'll get the gold. So let's see how this goes on our first run. I feel like this run has been pretty good. Cut a little bit of chapel there, but anyway, we're on the run to the line. We actually do get there by quite a chunk. We straight away get the gold with 165.43 kilometers per hour, and I don't think I've ever done that before in these average speed challenges, because I've certainly done them on a couple of occasions. So yeah, that's interesting. I was curious if we would actually even have to do attempts 2 and 3, but we do, so we might as well see if we can improve. We missed the first apex by a mile though, and immediately get ourselves disqualified from attempt number 2. So we move straight on to attempt number 3, then hopefully this one will go a little bit better than the last, and yeah, we'll see if we can improve on our 165 just because we can. We get onto the apex a bit more nicely, but we still run wide, and yeah, that's it. So there you go, gold, DSQ. That's that done. So yeah, lucky we got it on attempt 1 because attempts 2 and 3 didn't really get very far. But anyway, in terms of Formula 1 related stuff now, we've got a couple of upgrades on the car for this round, only one meaningful one though, the cockpit weight reduction. In terms of the weather, it's going to be a bit rainy towards the end of quali. The rest of the weekend should be dry, according to the forecast. And then to the R&D chart, it looks like we've made a little improvement, but Alpine and McLaren have also caught up to us a bit. So yeah, we might have a bit of a tougher time with them this round. And looking at recent results in the championship, Max Verstappen is on a bit of a tear at the moment, with 4 wins in a row. Can he get 5? That is today's big question. Who is going to stop Max Verstappen? He is, well, unstoppable at this stage. And anyway, in terms of R&D, well, first and foremost, we have to fix all of these upgrades that have failed in the recent past. So we do those, and they should all be on the car in the next round or two. So yeah, that's that. And in terms of new upgrades, we're going to go for a minor weight redistribution upgrade to the energy store cell positioning. So that should be on the car either way in time for the French Grand Prix. I'm undecided whether or not to rush the upgrade. If we do, we'll have time to fix it when it inevitably fails. Although we have had more upgrades go onto the car successfully now, so I don't know. But with R&D done, we move forward into qualifying then for the British Grand Prix, and we'll see how things go. I think we should be in for a pretty good round. Silverstone is a really fun track, one I've always enjoyed, so hopefully we can have a good time here. End of Q1, and our pace is electric at the moment. Both myself and Yuki Tsunoda flying in Q1, and Tsunoda actually ahead of me in P5, myself P6, so a great session for us in Q1. Down at the bottom though, Mick Schumacher was disqualified from qualifying, and on the race director it said he was disqualified for parking in a dangerous location. So his car must have either had an issue or he had a spin or something, and was not able to get moving again, and yeah, is out in Q1 for Mick Schumacher. So that's a shame for the German. Nicholas Latifi, Sebastian Vettel, Alexander Albon and Zhou Guanyu all knocked out in Q1. Lance Stroll getting through into Q2. So good effort by the Canadian.
I'd take a set of intermediates in these unpredictable conditions.
And intermediate conditions straight up in Q2. And I'm just waiting for someone else to go out on track first to see what they're going to do. And Lance Stroll is the first one out. Keen to get a lap time on the board in Q2. And Lance Stroll's on the wet tyres, so I might do the same. Because the rain is due to get worse as the day goes on. So yeah, even if it's mediums, or sorry, even if it's intermediates right now, as we accidentally re-equip the intermediate tyres there. Let's we're being advised that they're not the right tyres, but I trust
All clear the garage, please. Cars ready to leave.
that if the others are leaving the pit lane on wets, that they will be the tyre to use by the time we actually get around to start a flying lap. So we'll see. But anyway, out of pit lane we come then, and hopefully we can get up to speed in the wet very quickly, and well, you know, get out of Q2 is obviously the ultimate goal, but it's going to be a very tricky session, so we'll see how it goes as we run a little bit wide through turn 1, but not too bad. We should get away with that for the most part. Hopefully we can just get you know, a clean steady lap in, and it should hopefully be enough to get us through. But as we ease onto the power out of the loop through Aintree and onto the straight, the Wellington straight, we cut forward to the Hangar straight, and yeah, so far the lap has been you know, what I'm hoping for. Just you know, no mistakes. We did run a little bit wide out of Stowe Corner, but no big deal there as we now head through the club section. This section is absolutely treacherous in the wet conditions, and we have a little bit of a moment through the very final corner, but as we cross the line, we are well down the order into P9 as we're halfway through our next lap. We go for a spin, and yeah, that is no good, and that lap goes down the drain. Not that we were improving anyway. We check the timing screens. We're down in P12, and still 2 drivers yet to get a time on the board. Those being Lando Norris and Yuki Tsunoda. I don't know why these two spent the better part of about 5 minutes at the start of the session just sitting in the garage, maybe hoping the conditions would get better, but it was pretty clear that was not going to happen. Lando Norris comes around though to come across the line and moves up into 9th position, so good effort from Lando Norris there to rescue that one. But Yuki Tsunoda now, as the conditions on track continue to worsen, is not in a good situation. He comes across the line and goes 15th fastest, last so far, slower than myself and Lance Stroll. So yeah, big disappointment, and currently
With conditions as they are, I'd suggest you take a set of full
we
wets.
are both out in Q1. Later in the session though, we go on board with Lance Stroll, who is improving, and around the final corner comes Lance Stroll across the line, and he does improve on his time, but not his position. He's just marginally behind us by a few hundredths. Tsunoda up into P13, but not enough to move into the top 10 and into Q3, unfortunately. So, oh my goodness, it is a 7th row lockout for us at the moment. If we used the Q1 results, we could have had a 3rd row lockout, but just not to be. Where did our pace go? Is our car just this bad in the wet compared to the dry? Yeah, that's shocking, honestly. I could have gone out to go again, but I don't think I could have found, you know, any significant amount of time. We're way off the mark. So I don't know. I'm at a loss. Thankfully the race is dry, so this isn't something we're going to have to worry about at least this round. But yeah, where did our pace go in Q2? It looks so strong in Q1, so strong. But anyway, it is what it is. All we can do is try to fight back in the race. Let's do it.
Welcome along then to Great Britain and the Great Silverstone Circuit for today's Grand Prix. With good opportunities to overtake at the end of the Wellington and Hangar Straights, there's a lot of potential for close action around the 3.6 miles of Silverstone Circuit. With 18 corners and average lap speeds of around 145 miles per hour, it's also one of the longest and quickest circuits on the calendar. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Ricciardo, Perez, Carlos Sainz, and Russell, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, and Valtteri Bottas, Magnussen, Tsunoda, the Scientist, and Hamilton, Stroll, Joe, Alex Albon, and Sebastian Vettel, Latifi, and Mick Schumacher. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
Alrighty, thank you, Mark. Looking at the strategy, it is very interesting. Mediums or softs to start the race onto hards, either way, are really the only feasible options. 2 stops are out of the question entirely. And the strange thing is, you could do as little as 10 laps on soft tyres and move straight onto the hards for the rest of the race. And it's only about 4 seconds slower than the absolute optimal strategy. So, very strange. But anyway, we got to the 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go for the British Grand Prix. We're starting on the mediums alongside Yuki Tsunoda doing the same. Everybody else just about on the softs, with the exception of Zhou Guanyu and the Williams cars towards the back, starting on the hards. We've navigated the first few corners successfully. We've lost a place to Lewis Hamilton, who was penalised down the order, but that's no huge concern for us. We're not really in the same fight as Hamilton as we make the move around the outside, though, finding some space, and Hamilton, pinched on the apex of Aintree, has to give up the position. We move ourselves up into P13 once more, reclaiming our grid position, so that's worked out alright for us as we send it in to the middle sector for the first time and catch back up to Yuki Tsunoda as the field spreads out. So we are hopefully going to put in a sort of medium length stint at the start of this race, overcut everyone, and yeah, we'll see what that does for us.
We've held position on lap 1, that's not great, but it's not terrible. Stay focused.
And yeah, to give us a shorter stint on the hards at the end, and hopefully we'll be able to generate some pace later in the race, as we've got Lewis Hamilton trying to make the move on us through Maggots and Beckett's. No way through there, my friend. We will have to stay behind and wait for another opportunity. But the good thing about this strategy is because of the long potential stint length on hards in this race, we have essentially a 13 lap window between laps 10 and 23, where if a safety car or VSC or anything happens in that time, we'll be able to take advantage of that. So that's why we've chosen this strategy, and hopefully if that does happen, it'll get us out of jail, but that's a big if. A replay of the start then towards turn 1, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc on the front row, although it's Daniel Ricciardo who was giving Charles Leclerc a hard time there from P3 on the grid, but it was Verstappen who led the way into the first sequence of corners, and the Dutchman looks set to be on, well, it's a bit early to say now, but is on target so far for that 5th win in a row. Here's the onboard with Daniel Ricciardo off the start, and good launch by the McLaren driver around the outside of Charles Leclerc, but ultimately was not able to get that move done. Charles Leclerc stays in 2nd position with Daniel Ricciardo just slotting back into line behind, but again, they're probably not really in the same fight. The McLarens and Ferraris, the McLarens not quite with the pace of the cars in red. So anyway.
Okay, DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
It's a good opportunity for Ricciardo in this race regardless. Hamilton gets through on us, and we didn't fight that one at all. We're not in the same race really. We don't have the pace of the Mercedes cars. Besides all of that, Hamilton's on soft tyres, we're on mediums. So yeah, there's not really any point making a big argument out of that. We just...
Tyre condition still looking good.
Yeah, we'll let that one go. Meanwhile, up the road, Sergio Perez makes the move around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo, and should be able to get this one done. Does so on the exit of Stowe, so that's Sergio Perez up into 3rd position, joining his Red Bull teammate on the podium. So now it's a 1-3 for Red Bull, and Charles Leclerc still holding on to 2nd place, and Mick Schumacher pulling off the road. Sometimes it's just not your weekend, and disqualified in qualifying and retiring from the race. It's not Mick Schumacher's weekend. Not Kevin Magnussen's either, because he's just been overtaken by Yuki Tsunoda, and K-Mag is on the soft tyres, Tsunoda on the mediums, so with the tyre difference there, that's a bit of a strange one, as Hamilton also gets past Kevin Magnussen.
Here's some information on Vettel. Okay, they're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
Well, a problem for Vettel, but clearly there's a problem for Kevin Magnussen as well, because he has all of a sudden started to tumble down the order, and it won't be long before we make a move on the Dane as well. And we're just lining it up now. We're going to go for the dive down the inside into Stowe. We missed the apex by a mile. K-Mag with the switchback, and side by side up towards the club section, but we've got the inside line here, and we're going to be able to fend off Kevin Magnussen and gain that place. We're up into P13 once more, as
Gap to your teammate ahead is 1.5 seconds.
Yuki Tsunoda has done a decent job so far holding off Lewis Hamilton, so he's actually got pretty decent pace at this stage of the race. As we continue on, eventually Hamilton does go for the move around the outside into the final sequence of corners, so an unorthodox way of getting the move done for Lewis Hamilton, but anyway, whatever works. He's got through on not for long though. Tsunoda back down the inside into Abbey, but Hamilton will hold off the Japanese driver and eventually move ahead, but Tsunoda tried to fight that one just for a moment there, but eventually decided that was not worth burning up the tyres, fighting against a considerably faster car, although that said, they are the team above us on the R&D charts. Eventually we make the move down the inside of Yuki Tsunoda, and I followed him for a while, and to be honest, his pace wasn't that much slower than mine, and it took a while for me to sort of convince myself that I'd be able to go faster if I did get through, but eventually I decided that we need to see if we can make some more progress forward in this race. But Tsunoda's pace so far in this race has been pretty good in comparison to my own, so there's good signs there for Tsunoda, hopefully.
No need to worry about the tyre condition for now, everything's looking good.
We can both forge our way through the field. But anyway, as we continue to push on, we are currently...
You're in the top 10 now, keep it up.
We're currently finding our way through the order, through everyone else on the softs making pit stops, to the point that we're actually potentially going to take the lead. It depends how far back the top contenders fall, but we have already jumped Max Verstappen, so he was the race leader. So once Sergio Perez comes into the pits, and I'm not sure if Charles Leclerc is pit yet or not, it could be a 1-2 situation for myself and Yuki Tsunoda in this race. What we need now is a red flag. That would be absolutely perfect timing, but unfortunately they're not invented yet in F1 22. Anyway, we carry on and we move ourselves into the race lead as everyone else makes their stops.
Gap to your teammate behind is 3.5 seconds.
This is not the first time we've led a race. We did lead in Miami when we worked together with Sergio Perez throughout that one. But yeah, as we take a look, for the briefest of moments we had a 1-2, but unfortunately Max Verstappen was quick to spoil that party and move up into second place ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, who drops into third. And eventually Verstappen will go for the move on myself as well. But we're going to try and hold off the Dutchman as we run side by side through Stowe, and we're not going to give Verstappen the easy way through, because well, I just want to lead as many laps as I can, to be honest. While we've got the clean air, I want to be able to use it, and to be honest, we're going to come in at the end of this lap anyway.
This lap and push hard on the in-lap.
As Verstappen makes the move to the outside, and we go side by side. We'll force Verstappen out of road there a little bit, but he was never going to make it around the outside of turn 1, and Charles Leclerc has actually taken advantage of that. So Charles Leclerc is coming back into the fight here, and we'll have to see exactly how that happened. But as we struggle a little bit through Aintree, here comes Charles Leclerc down the inside towards the next middle sector.
Stay with them. They might make a mistake and we could still regain the position.
Into Brooklands we go, pinching Leclerc into the apex there, and we're able to hold off the Ferrari driver. So we're still maintaining this race lead. We're probably costing ourselves a little bit of time, but I'm just holding on to this race lead and hoping that there might be some kind of safety car or interruption that can help us. It's really the last opportunity we'll have for that to do anything beneficial for us. Here's he on board with Leclerc as he made his way past Verstappen. A little bit of contact actually between them on the way through. Verstappen fought that for a long time on the outside, and all of a sudden realised that he was about to run out of road. And yeah, Charles Leclerc now was able to get a really nice run, beautiful exit compared to myself, back on board with Max Verstappen towards the next corner. And you can see, yeah, Leclerc was he had to lift out of it a little bit on the exit. Couldn't put the power down as we were sweeping across from a wider line and really pinching him in towards the apex. But eventually we do have to come into the pits, and yeah, unfortunately the safety car that we were hoping for never arrived. So we zoom along into pit lane then, and hopefully we can come out with some decent track position still.
Perfect job from you and the crew there, mate. We're delighted with that.
So we'll see as we make our way towards the pit exit. We are probably going to drop out of the top 10, and because everyone has already made pit stops,
that was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go.
Wherever we come out will be essentially our genuine track position. The only one who hasn't stopped yet is we have a big wobble on the pit exit. My goodness, we're lucky to get away with that. These hard tyres have no traction at the moment. But anyway, we'll have to get these up to operating temperature as soon as possible. But we do come out ahead of Bottas, who was in front of us before.
P12 now. Ocon is ahead of you.
Before the pit stop cycle, so that's worked well for us there, as Nicholas Latifi retires from the race with a mechanical failure. Unfortunate for the Canadian, one of the drivers starting on hard compound tyres. Meanwhile, we look back to Max Verstappen. He's had enough of being behind Charles Leclerc. The Dutchman makes the move to the inside of Stowe and looks to be able to get through there. So Max Verstappen moves back up into the race lead, back in control and back on target to take 5 wins in a row. That would be a pretty incredible run for Max Verstappen, and just shows the dominance he's had this season. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda is still not coming into the pits, and Sergio Perez and co are catching up. So yeah, I'm not sure what the strategy call is there for Tsunoda, but I think he's extending this medium stint a little bit too long as we go for the big dive down the inside of Esteban Ocon and get it done.
You made it look so easy.
That's Stowe corner there, and yeah, that was a nice move on Esteban Ocon. Happy with that one. We actually made the apex, which was a lot better than what we did with Kevin Magnussen in that corner. But anyway, as we continue on chasing down Fernando Alonso next, we look back to Yuki Tsunoda, who's now under pressure from a number of cars here, 3 cars stacking up behind, and this isn't what he needs. He needs to be extracting the most pace out of the car as we make the move around the outside of Alonso through Aintree.
Good job, nice overtake.
Where did that come from? We just sort of stuck the nose in around the outside of the exit of the loop, and all of a sudden Alonso gave us the space and we were able to get that job done. Meanwhile, we're in the process of sizing up for Daniel Ricciardo. Big lunge down the inside into the final complex, and we get the move done there on Daniel Ricciardo. So we've smashed through that little battle pack and moved ourselves up inside of the top 10. So we're into the points now as Ricciardo locked up in that little sequence. Got a good switchback, but unfortunately that just put him on the outside line for the next corner. So didn't quite work out there for Danny Rick. Anyway, back on board with myself. Lap 31 of the race now, and Yuki Tsunoda comes in.
Okay, Yuki is coming in for his stop now.
A further 8 laps after I came in, and he was just over 10 seconds in front of us. So Yuki Tsunoda's lost the better part of 20 seconds since we came into the pits. So big mistake, I think, to stretch the medium tyres that long as Verstappen steals the fastest lap we briefly held in this race, as we now shift our attention to Carlos Sainz, who's got a great run down the inside of George Russell into Copse corner, and that is a nice move by Carlos Sainz to get up into P4. Wowee, George Russell did not see that one coming, but he's coming back at Carlos Sainz down the inside into Stowe, and these two are going to battle on, it seems. George Russell back through and up into P4 once again, and I'm intrigued by this battle because of course George Russell is our rival, so he's not on the podium at the moment, but I of course don't want him to get there because that will be another point in the rivalry going his way. But one we can salvage regardless of track position is getting a faster lap, and the fastest lap of the race is certainly going to aid in that, though Max Verstappen steals it back. So it's going to be an endless battle, it seems, between myself and Verstappen trading fastest laps.
Verstappen's just put up the fastest lap of the race so far.
And there we go again, Verstappen sending a few in a row there just to hammer in the point that he's got the pace to steal away that bonus point. But we're not done yet. We come round and set it again.
The car ahead is 10.7 seconds.
And we are both just moving that marker bit by bit. My pace, generally speaking, isn't that good. My consistency is terrible. I'm falling away from Hamilton despite setting a few fastest laps of the race. But anyway, down the inside of Sergio Perez goes George Russell, and that's a move onto the podium for the Mercedes driver. And all of a sudden, he's closed into the Mexicans. So I don't know if Sergio Perez has had an issue or if Russell's just found some good pace later in the race. But George Russell has suddenly found himself in 3rd position with that overtake. So that is not good news for me, but Sergio Perez isn't done yet. Down the inside of Copse goes Sergio Perez. George Russell must be really struggling in that zone of the circuit because he's been overtaken there twice now, and Sergio Perez is back through and back onto the podium. He's back on form and desperate to try and cling on to as many championship points as he can. He's the only one who has any hope of chasing down Verstappen in the title fight, but even that seems futile at this stage. And shuts the door on George Russell's nose there a little bit on the way towards Stowe corner. Russell didn't really have any overlap, but Sergio Perez just moving back onto the racing line in front of him there just to make sure there was no way through. But this battle is going to continue as George Russell has the DRS towards Stowe and now makes the move to the inside, slots back in, and Perez goes wide, and George Russell's through, and George Russell moves back into 3rd position. So these two trading places lap after lap, and George Russell back up into the podium places. Here's the on board with Russell to see exactly what happened there. He had a look to the inside but chickened out of it, but Sergio Perez locked up and gave him the place for free. So George Russell back up into 3rd, but not for too long, because guess what? Sergio Perez back down the inside into Stowe once more, and as the laps count down, these overtakes become all the more critical. Sergio Perez back through, on board with George Russell. He's going to try the move around the outside into the final complex as there's just millimeters between them, and Sergio Perez gives him the squeeze. George Russell can't get the power down, and Sergio Perez maintains the position as there's just 2 laps to go in this race. We look to Max Verstappen, who starts the final lap of the race and sets another fastest lap as he does so. So Max Verstappen has set the benchmark now, and we need to chase it. Charles Leclerc runs in second position. He's got that locked down. I don't think anyone's challenging Leclerc for that position. He's in a world of his own in P2, so the podium is almost set, except for P3. This battle is going to go all the way to the checkered flag between Sergio Perez and George Russell. And maybe Russell's left this to the final lap on purpose. Maybe there's some strategy in that. We'll see. Max Verstappen is setting the timing sectors alight with more purple sectors, so the Dutchman is absolutely flying on this final lap. Sergio Perez holds off Russell into the middle sector, and that's important. There's really only one good overtaking opportunity left, and that's into Stowe Corner, where most of the overtaking action has happened between these two and the battles they've had so far. We begin the final lap of the race as well, and we're incentivized to go chasing after Max Verstappen's new fastest lap. We've been looking after the tyres throughout this stint to see if we can go for it on the final lap, and we'll see what we can do. And so far, the timing sectors are looking pretty good, but we're only going to know once we cross the line at the end of the final sector. But there's not much in it as we bring it around Luffield. It's a tricky balancing act trying to ease back onto the power out of that corner, but we did alright on that occasion. We move our attention back to Max Verstappen, who's bringing it towards the final complex of corners. Kevin Magnussen just up the road. The Dane moves out the way. And if this was a game of Yahtzee, Max Verstappen would be on a high straight. It's 5 in a row for Max Verstappen. And that is domination personified. Bringing it towards the final sector now. It is Sergio Perez and George Russell. The battle rages on. Russell as close as you like into the club section, but not close enough to make the move on Sergio Perez, who is clinging onto a podium position by his fingernails, but he holds onto it. Sergio Perez P3, Russell P4, Leclerc of course in P2. Further down the field, we're still in 8th position, still trying to bring home this fastest lap of the race. And as we bring it around Stowe Corner, things are looking pretty good for us. And now we have just a few corners left to navigate. And we have got 2 purple sectors so far as we bring it around the final corner. Is it going to be a fastest lap? Yes, it is. We cross the line.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
8th position. And we snag back that bonus point. We've been fighting hard for those this season. We rack up yet another one. Whew.
Plenty of action here at Silverstone, a memorable race and an impressive victory. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
Domination for Max Verstappen yet again. 5 wins in a row for the Dutchman. Charles Leclerc has to settle for second today, and Sergio Perez, a brilliant battle to finish third.
And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
I have to give it to the scientist. They demonstrated a very delicate touch in close proximity to other cars, as well as showing a lot of maturity and patience in difficult situations.
Let's move on to the constructors. And pulling further ahead in the standings, It's Red Bull. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
Well, what can we say about that? We had a pretty good race, I think. We recovered well from the bad qualifying, and I think the strategy that we chose worked well for us. I am a little curious how our race would have gone if we started on the softs and did that super early pit stop I was talking about on lap 10 and just did a whole run on hards from as early as possible. But ultimately, I don't think that would have made much difference. This is legitimately where our pace was. We couldn't catch Hamilton, and towards the end, Alonso was actually catching up to us a little bit when I wasn't setting fastest laps of the race. So, yeah, this seems to be where we belonged in this race. I think that's the maximum we could have achieved, regardless of where we qualified. Maybe if we were up in the top 10, we could have had a run with Lando Norris. But anyway, we we'll have a run through the finish order. Max Verstappen ahead of Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez, George Russell, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, who was not able to recover as much as I thought. Hamilton down in P7, myself P8 ahead of Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo, rounding out the point scorers. Yuki Tsunoda down in P13, last driver on the lead lap, with K-Mag dropping off the lead lap in the final meters of the race. Tsunoda over 30 seconds behind me, although, like I said, the better part of 20 seconds was the extra 8 laps he did on mediums when I really don't think that was necessary, and that stint cost him a lot of time. So I think his race could have been significantly better, and he would have been in the fight with Bottas and Ocon perhaps if he made a pit stop at a more logical time. But anyway, that's how it goes. In terms of the Drivers' Championship then, we are alright in that regard. We're 11 points behind Russell now, so I've lost out a bit more there. But remember that Russell had a rubbish start to the season, which is the only reason we're even remotely close to begin with. And then Lando Norris 11 points behind us, so he gains a little bit in this one as well. In terms of the Team's Championship, actually I should have mentioned Max Verstappen now 75 points clear of Sergio Perez, so that's 3 full Grand Prix. But anyway, in the Team's Championship, Red Bull continue to absolutely smash it with these results. 148 points clear of Ferrari, and then Ferrari just 12 points clear of Mercedes. So the fight between them goes on, and it's the same 12-point margin between McLaren and ourselves at AlphaTauri. So we lose out a little bit in this round. A few points go the way of McLaren. They gain 4 points on us in this one, so the battle goes on for us too. But hopefully with the car continuing to improve, we should be able to get both cars in the points regularly very soon. We lose 1 point to George Russell this weekend in our rivalry, so just again proving how tough of a rivalry this is going to be. We need a bit of magic at some point where, you know, we can comprehensively outscore Russell by a couple of points in a round to really put ourselves in contention, I think. But we'll see what happens. We've got the Red Bull Ring coming up next as we get back into HQ and get our resources. But yeah, with the Red Bull Ring up next, it's always been a track I've done well at, so it's potentially our opportunity to properly take the fight to George Russell. We have a tyre upgrade coming between now and then, so hopefully that'll be on the car successfully. To be honest, it's probably one we've had to fix anyway. I can't remember at this point. We've had that many upgrades going in all directions, but it is successfully on the car. And that is,
we'll have them with us for the next Grand Prix.
And that is all that matters. So, yeah, with that done, maybe that would have helped Yuki Tsunoda in that race. I noticed at the start of his stints he seemed quite quick, and then he seemed to drop away a little bit later on. And I do wonder if maybe a little bit of tyre wear was playing a factor in that. Maybe that sort of upgrade might be just what he needs to stay competitive throughout the duration of the race. But anyway, we'll find out when we get to the Red Bull Ring. Hopefully it'll be another dry race, and we won't have to deal with any more wet weather shenanigans, but we'll only find out once we get there, of course. But that was a really fun one. I really enjoyed that race. The battling between Carlos Sainz, George Russell, and eventually, of course, Russell and Perez was awesome. Those two were absolutely going at it for the final place on the podium, and yeah, thankfully for us, Sergio Perez was just barely able to cling on. But yeah, I love watching those battles and commentating over those things. It's yeah, I always enjoy it when the AI amongst themselves just go ham. But anyway, that is pretty much all we've got time for in this one. Yeah, looking forward to the Red Bull Ring. Hopefully that will be the circuit where we can fully take the fight to George Russell. But for now, yeah, that is going to do it for this one. So I'll say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It's always very helpful. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye.